All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video we have an update. Word out of Terence Crawford's camp about the rematch with Errol Spence Jr. And gotta tell you once again, it's perplexing to me as Terence Crawford, according to Steve Nelson, says that Terence Crawford will not fight Errol Spence Jr. at any weight above 147 pounds. But will fight Jermell Charlo at 154 or Canelo Alvarez at 168. What sense does that make? Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. And in this video, we are going to talk about the update that came out from Steve Nelson, who is a member of Terence Crawford's camp out of B&B Gym, I do believe is I don't know what weight class he is, but I think he's a 168 pounder. But a guy that is close to Terence Crawford and a member of his camp goes out to cancel fake news reports about requirements that are being asked of Terence Crawford about the rematch with Errol Spence. And I got to tell you, man, you gonna open yourself up to even more criticism. This makes no sense. On so many levels, this does not make sense. But let's get into it. Before I do, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support for the channel. It really does mean a lot. All right, so Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford had a fight at 147 pounds for the undisputed welterweight championship of the world. Terence Crawford wins the fight in one-sided fashion. Errol Spence has a rematch clause, and Errol Spence exercises the rematch clause. But it is up to Terence Crawford what weight class the fight takes place at. So there was speculation about what Terence Crawford wanted to fight Errol at 154 pounds, whether it was more money. There was other speculation about there being a catch weight of 148 pounds with a rehydration clause of 10 pounds, all of the above. Well, Steve Nelson, who is in Terence Crawford's camp, comes out to clean up the record and says that Terence Crawford is not going to fight Errol Spence Jr. at anything other than 147 pounds. If Errol Spence wants to fight, Errol Spence has to take the fight at 147. Now, that is his contractual right, obviously, because what it says, it's up to him. But Steve Nelson says in the same breath that Terence Crawford wants to move up to 168 pounds to fight Canelo. I also have to assume, since Terence Crawford already said this, that he would be willing to fight Jermell Charlo at 154 pounds for an undisputed title at 154 pounds. If you are willing to fight Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds, why would you, but you are willing to fight Errol if he exercises his rematch clause, why wouldn't you just agree to fight him at 154? If you feel like you can beat Canelo Alvarez at 168, you've already beaten Errol Spence at 147. And if you feel like you can beat Jermell Charlo at 154, why wouldn't you just fight Errol at 154? It's not like you have the ability to fight Canelo Alvarez next, because Canelo Alvarez fights on September 30th. You're not fighting Canelo this year. And in fact, you're probably not going to fight Canelo Alvarez at all, because Canelo Alvarez said there's nothing for him in the fight. Nothing for him in that fight. If he beats Terence Crawford, he gets nothing out of it. That fight is not a realistic fight for Terence Crawford to get. So it's hard for me to understand why you would refuse to fight Errol Spence at 154 when it is a fight that you should very definitely win, seeing as you beat him at 147 before so easily. It just seems to be petty to me. I don't get that. Why wouldn't you just fight the man at 154? But again, it is definitely his prerogative not to fight him. Steve Nelson says he hopes we hope Terence Crawford doesn't want to fight Errol again because he feels like it's a waste of time. Well, what other fight are you going to have? Because you're not getting Jermell and you're not going to get Canelo. I promise you he's not going to get Canelo because Canelo is already, well, let me not say I promise you he's not going to get him. There's a chance that he'll get him, but not a big one. Seeing as Canelo's already said, man, leave me alone. There's no reason for me to fight you. If I beat you, you're just too small. Terence Crawford has not proven himself to be some big mega pay-per-view deal where it's going to be a really huge fight for Canelo. It just doesn't make sense. That particular angle. Now, if you just don't want to fight him at 147 because you say, no, these are for the 147-pound belts, I don't want to do it, then cool, you just don't want to do it. If you felt like you didn't want to move up to 154 because that's too big of a weight class for you, okay. If you felt like 147 is the weight class that you're going to fight at, okay. But Terence Crawford said that he is not going to fight the WBC mandatory. He's not going to fight the IBF mandatory. The only other guy at welterweight that fits into that is Amanda Stanionis. And if Errol Spence Jr.'s rematch is a waste of time, what do you call Stanionis? But anyway, at least we know now that Errol Spence that Terence Crawford is not going to, is not asking, well, hold on, I don't know that. More than likely, if he did say extra money for 154, I wouldn't be surprised if Errol Spence Jr. just said no to that, because there's no reason for him to pay more money to fight at 154. I already said that sounded like Errol need to let that go anyway. But at the end of the day, it may wind up being the best for Errol that Terence Crawford doesn't rematch him right away, and Terence goes off and fights somebody else, and Errol goes fight somebody else, and gives Errol time to get accustomed to 154, get a couple tune-up fights, easy fights for him that he can win, get his body feeling right, and if he feels right, he'll be in another good position once again. There's plenty of fighters in boxing like Canelo Alvarez and other people who have lost fights and still wound up keeping their fan base because they are the type of people that their fan base likes. But anyway, there's your update on it. You can dismiss according to Steve Nelson, you can dismiss the 154 at all, and he's going to insist it's 147 or bust. But anyway, that's his prerogative. I just don't understand the logic behind it. If you're willing to go to 154 for somebody else, why wouldn't you be willing? Now, somebody's going to say, well, that's for the undisputed title. Well, he's not going to be fighting either one of those guys next. He's not going to be fighting those guys anyway, if you ask me, because Jermell is going to have to fight Tim Tszyu if he comes back down to 154. He's going to fight Tim Tszyu if he comes back down to 154, but he probably won't come back down to 154. If he beats Canelo, he's going to rematch Canelo, and then Jermell still may not fight Terence Crawford. But anyway, that's just my take on it. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.